So, the last topic for this chapter is instruments. So, as we know, we have calculated, determined many variables in this chapter, for example, equivalent resistances, EMF of the cells, potentials across the resistors and current in the circuits, and for each of them we have a instrument. Yes, for each of them. For example, if I talk about resistances, then this meter bridge is to determine resistances, to determine unknown resistances. We have potentiometer to determine EMF and internal resistance of a cell. So, basically we can determine both the quantities of a cell using potentiometer. We have ammeter to determine current, and we have voltmeter to determine voltages. So, basically all these are the instruments which work on the basic principles to determine all the variables which we have done mathematically. Now, we will determine them using experimentally. So, let us write the main important key results of each instrument, and then we will solve few beautiful problems so that you will understand it better. First of all is meter bridge. So, I think you already aware of its diagram. The basic principle of this bridge is, the basic result you can say, or principle is R1 R upon S, this will be equal to L upon 100 minus L. This is the basic. We call it as meter bridge because the length of the wire in this is about 100 centimeter. So, this L is the balancing length. Okay, very simple concept for meter bridge. It works on the principle of balanced Wheatstone bridge. So, that is the basic principle behind this result. The second thing which you can add over here is end correction or end errors. So, basically in meter bridge, sometimes we have also have to consider the resistances of the windings at the end of the wire, because at the end we generally make many turns which might increase the length of the wire a little bit. So, basically we need the end correction on both the points. So, if you consider the end corrections, then it will become R upon S will become L plus end correction of wire 1 upon 100 minus L times end correction at other side. So, basically this is in general expression how to write the balanced Wheatstone bridge equation of meter bridge when there are errors. And of course, there is a way to reduce the error. So, that is our third point about this thing. To reduce this error, how do we reduce this error? This error can be reduced, my dear students, if we bring the balancing point at mid. If we bring the balancing point at the midpoint, then what will happen? The numerator and denominator will become equal, and both errors gets exactly cancelled out by each other. So, basically to reduce this error, we try to get balancing point at mid. How do we get this? By taking S, by choosing appropriate S. Suppose if I am getting balancing length at 1/10, then I would have an understanding, okay, that unknown resistance might be around 1/10 of the given resistance. So, what will I do? I will put another resistance which will be 1/10 of the given resistance, and then use the same circuit to get the balancing length, and this time I will get the balancing length around in between. So, this is the standard 3 point of meter bridge. Directly this result, remember this result and apply, and you can solve most of the problems of your exam. Now, let us go to potentiometer. So, basically potentiometer works on the balancing principle, that is basically we define the term potential gradient as potential difference across the potentiometer wire VAB upon length of the wire LAB. This is how we define potential gradient. And the principle is E1 will be equal to KL1, E2 will be equal to KL2. So when you divide, the principle becomes E1 upon E2 will be equal to K1 upon K2. This is the first thing. Sometimes they may ask you to find this potential gradient also. So for that you have to draw the diagram of driver cell. Driver cell is basically the bigger cell which is connected to some external resistance, and this is the potentiometer wire. This is A and B. This is the driver cell. And potential gradient is across this wire LAB. So you can determine, suppose the resistance of this wire is R, so you can determine the potential gradient as VAB. VAB is nothing but I times small r upon LAB, and I can be rewritten as E naught times R upon R plus R1 times LAB, or you can say capital. So this is how you can determine the potential gradient. Sometimes when they ask the potential gradient, then just draw the diagram of driver cell. This is the diagram of driver cell. And what is the diagram of primary cell? From here when we connect the battery, and this is the galvanometer and this is the balancing point, so this is L1. So this is primary cell E1. Similarly, we can also have another cell here, again galvanometer, this is secondary cell. So that is the diagram of potentiometer. Third thing you can add in this is internal resistance. Internal resistance of cell. So first of all, let me draw the diagram. First, the driver cell, resistance connected to the driver cell R1, wire AB, AB. So this is the source circuit. That's a EMF of driver cell is E naught. And now I am going to draw primary cell. This is primary cell E1. It has internal resistance, let's say small r1, and here we have a galvanometer, sliding galvanometer. This is your balancing length L1. Okay. Now my dear student, there is one more circuit basically here. We connect it with the external resistance R, and this is the key. So when the key is open, then the effective resistance connected is infinite. So basically we measure L1 length. When key is closed, then effective resistance will become R, and there will be some current will also flow in the primary circuit. Let's say this is I primary, and due to which the potential difference decreases and becomes V, that is E minus IR. So from here when you apply the law E1 by E2, so it becomes E1 by E1 minus IR will be equal to, your formula will become L1 by L2. Very, very standard result. E1 upon E1 minus R will be equal to L1 by L2. So when you put the value of I, this I is basically E by small r plus R. Using these two equations, when you solve, you get the value of internal resistance as capital L times L1 minus L2 upon L1, that's all. This is the value of internal resistance. L1 is the larger length, L2 is the smaller length directly. You can directly remember this formula and it will be very, very helpful to you. Sometimes people also remember it as you can write this also as E by V will be equal to L1 by L2. So you can put E by V over here and your internal resistance would become R times, you can see this is 1 minus L2 by L1. So 1 minus L2 by L1 will become V by E. So this is also the standard formula you can remember. So this is how we write the internal resistance using potentiometer. Now, ammeters and voltmeter. In this chapter, of course, we do not study how the ammeter is drawn, how to increase the sensitivity of ammeter. That is the part of next chapter when you study galvanometer. In this case, we just would like to understand what ammeter is. Ammeter is basically a device which has a very small resistance of ammeter approximately milliohm. Generally, it is milliohm. So, it can be treated as a conductor, So, it is always connected in, and must be connected, must always connected in series. You can never connect ammeter in parallel, otherwise you will get a wrong measurement. Always connect the ammeter in series, because it has a very less, milliohm means 10 raised to the power minus 3 ohm. So, always connected in series, and it behaves as a conductor. Behaves as a conductor, so it must be connected in series. That is about ammeter. Similarly, about voltmeter is just opposite of it. Voltmeter, it is like an open circuit. Why? Because it has a resistance of 10 raised to the power 6 ohm, mega ohm as R of voltmeter. Generally, ideal voltmeter I am talking about, ideal voltmeter has a resistance of around 10 raised to the power 6 ohm, mega ohm. So, it must be connected, in parallel to a given resistor. Always remember, it must be connected in parallel. So, now before closing in, let me give you one more important point. Ki for non-ideal, if we have some non-ideal voltmeter and ammeters, then we always get a systemic negative systematic error. So, basically when you use a non-ideal voltmeter which is not as large as this one or not as small as the current ammeter one, then they will produce error while the measurement, and they will always produce negative systematic error. Negative systematic error means when you measure, delta V is negative and delta I is also negative. It means they always measure lesser current, they always measure less than actual, always. So, remember, non-ideal voltmeter and ammeters always measure less, always measure smaller value than the actual value. So, the error is always negative. Remember this thing, very important concept.